pigs don't die in this heat wave, my friend.
Oh, interesting. It's that hot there, huh?
Yeah,
it's really hot.
Degrees up in my apartment.
Holy, yeah. And California is not, coastal California is not prepared for that kind of heat.
No, I'm used to it from Michigan, but my blood must have thinned out because I felt like I had heat stroke all last night into this morning.
I have heard that it only takes 6 weeks to fully acclimate to your new climate.
Environment.
Yeah, well, it happened, unfortunately.
Like your blood actually gets thinner in hotter environments, and your blood gets thicker in colder environments.
Oh.
Gosh.
I'm out of here.
All right, that far away voice is getting farther away.
Hold on. Are we live?
I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention.
I think I'm just going to type in chat real quick that I'm first. Because I'm an old person with not that much brains. There we go.
All right, I'm going to get on that too for a sec. Going to hit the mute.
There we go.
Ooh, Carter.
All right. Cool. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to the future, everybody's.
Yes, welcome to the future.
Shibalbruha. How do I say it? Balba Bruha.
If I was actually trying, I would say Zibalba Bruja. Am I right? Who's Zibalba? Isn't that the fat floaty insect dude that owned Anakin Skywalker and his mom?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
Isn't that character though? Isn't that his name? Zibalba or something like that?
No, Zibalba's the pod racer.
Oh, okay. He's the competition.
I came back for a little extra info.
How do you?
I was gonna do a Watto impression.
A Watto.
The only thing that works on me is money. But it's Watto, not Zibalba.
I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about that horrible stereotype in Phantom Menace. Yeah. That like larvae, bug, long-nosed barterer.
I'm sorry. Did you say George Lucas's idea of a particular group of people simplified into a single character?
Yeah, like the Jawas.
Or the Ewoks.
Or the Ewoks. Well, I thought the Ewoks were just because he couldn't do the Wookiees like he wanted.
Couldn't afford Wookiees. Even still.
Hey, man, I'm sure they sold a lot of Ewok costumes and toys. And wait, we got a little extra info.
Chibalba Bruja. Exactly.
He has a picture.
The first year
I like going je though. I like that noise from Portuguese. It's got this really nice je sound.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
You'd get those every year.
I had a Chewy one.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. Yeah.
Or like there's a Spider-Man one, everything. And I had one, and my dad picks me up because I'm like 3 or 4. Picks me up onto his shoulder to go out trick or treating. And as we're going out the front door, I see my reflection in the mirror, and I immediately start shrieking bloody murder. I was terrified. We didn't go out trick or treating because I was too scared of my own Ewok costume.
That's hilarious, Kyle.
On anybody else?
The color of the costume, it wasn't brown enough. It didn't have the ochres and the earth tones that Ewok fur has. It was all like oranges and earth reds, so it looked like this fire demon. We'll have to Google it sometime. Someone has it somewhere. But it was a horrible Ewok costume, and it scared the living bejesus out of me. And
did your parents take pictures of that Halloween?
Yes. There's a picture of me with the mask on, and then a picture of me with the mask in my hand crying tears somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's your homework assignment for next week.
McGee Family Archives.
Yeah, your homework assignment.
Yeah.
All right, I'm actually leaving now. Sorry for interrupting.
See you, Kyle. You're not interrupting. You're welcome on the show.
All right, that was fun.
Bruja says hi, Kyle, by the way.
Yeah, he always comes in so late. He'll be in early on Thursday. Anyhow. They'll see each other then.
How's it going there, buddy?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have a hurt ankle. It's been hurting for about 2 weeks now.
What did you do now? You walked on an uneven surface?
All right, so
yeah, tell me the story because I'm embarrassed for both of us.
Well, I was a little agitated. I had got out of my car. It's here in Berkeley. And a person almost hit me and the dog.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They ran a red light. And I mean, they ran a red light so bad they were like, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't so fast. Like obviously couldn't get out of the way. But it was pretty slow going through the crosswalk. There was even a car to their left that had just stopped in front of them. So like almost everything other than a car being in front of them said, hey, stop. There's a red light. There's a person walking. The car next to you is stopped. How about you pay attention? And of course they weren't.
They were texting, bro.
They were texting, bruh.
Man.
You know those little dashboard kind of little thingies that they have in newer cars? I don't know what's on those. I'm assuming it's like a GPS thing or something like that. Maybe radio.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, so cars. You know how you drive cars, right?
Okay, so the weakness is not with my comprehension; it's with your description.
Well, I'm letting you know. Hold on. So there's like a little thing that sticks up on their dashboard.
Okay.
Here's the wheel, and I don't know what's on that because I don't have a car that has that.
Nor do I.
But I'm assuming that thing is the thing that's making that person not pay attention, or they're just texting, like you said. Either way, I almost got hit. And unfortunately for me, that person stopped on the next block, and I was in a huff. So I was like, I'm going to let them have it.
Yeah.
So I had this water bottle with me, and I had the dog with me. And I didn't take the sidewalk like I should have, but I walked on the side where a lot of construction had been going on. And I probably twisted my ankle doing that. So like even before I did something shitty to this person,
did you?
I already got my karma. You know?
Do something shitty to that person? Oh, we're cussing.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I took this water bottle. I walked by and I'm like, hey, and I slammed it on his window. I mean, it could have broken it, but I didn't think it would. And he looked really pissed for a second. And then I was like, you almost hit me. You ran a red light, you son of a bitch. And he was kind of like, at first he was like really upset. And then as I was yelling this at him, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. But I'm 3 weeks with a bad ankle now. And it's not getting any better.
Well, it's because you keep walking. You need to get one of those levitating recliners, the day bed. Get a reclining day bed that levitates or rolls around on wheels, whatever. And you
be like
walking. Who needs to walk?
I need to be that dude in Dune.
What, the floating fat man?
Yeah.
I was more thinking of Wall-E.
Wall-E?
Yeah, where everybody's got the hovering chairs. They don't have to walk anymore.
I didn't see that.
Well, it's not my fault.
No, it's not your fault. I did not know.
The weakness.
I tried to.
More people in our audience have probably seen Wall-E these days than Dune.
Oh no, everybody. I mean, every one or two people that are in here knows Dune.
I'm talking about whole audience.
Oh,
whole audience, man. Young people don't watch Dune anymore. That movie doesn't.
Well, they will be. Have you heard?
What? That it's being remade?
Oh, not only is it being remade, but I guess they're going to be doing a whole bunch of television to go along with it.
They've already done that and done it poorly once. So I will reserve judgment, but I'm not optimistic.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
Come on, man.
Rule is not optimistic about a Dune movie and or TV show.
I like the original movie quite a lot.
Who did the original movie?
David Lynch did the original movie.
Oh, that. Okay, yeah, very good. I don't know what I forgot what we were talking about for a second.
The floating fat man, who is the only dude in the whole universe that has a hovering suit or whatever.
And then when we had the Disney Channel, I remember they would show Dune on hot summer nights. I think that was like their little gimmick. They said, we're showing hot summer night shows in the evening.
Sure.
And one of them was Dune. And I remember they had it has like a lot of text and a lot of speaking over it. And
that's
everything.
The extended version. It's like 6 hours long.
Yeah, it was long. Which
I've never bothered to watch because I understand the movie because I've read the book.
Mm.
So I don't need that history lesson. It's mostly the princess talking, right?
It's a long time ago.
I believe the princess that Paul Atreides ends up marrying to take control of the universe. I believe she's the narrator of the extended version because she had voiceover credit during the actual movie as well. She was the narrator for the actual movie, and I think she just did everything afterwards. Or
And that was Kyle MacLachlan in that. He was Atreides.
yeah, he was supposed to be the 18-year-old Paul Atreides, 38-year-old man or something. I don't know.
Well, he was still has that youthful look. Yeah, David Lynch sees him and he thinks, "Oh, it's still blue velvet days."
God, yeah, well,
he's like, "Oh, I'm young too."
how old was Kyle Well, it doesn't matter, dude. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm done with Dune. I'm gonna reread the book someday, but
yeah, for a show.
No, just to reread it. Like, it was one of the very first science fiction novels I ever read, and I loved it. But it was so long ago. I was literally like 18, 19, or 20 when I read that. So I am twice that now. I'd like to know if it holds up.
I only read it, I say a few years ago. It's probably about 10 or 15 now. But that was the only time I read it.
That's still a while. My memory for stories in general is pretty... I forget a lot of things unless it was really, really impactful. So I think now I could go back and read it without remembering too much. But it was profoundly good to the point where I remembered most details of that book for quite a long time after reading it. So
right, yeah,
it's worth a reread now. I could go back and be surprised still. And I'd like to know if he's a good writer. That's the other thing, because I don't know. I couldn't judge then. Maybe I can now.
I had a customer come in the store, and I was having my typical conversation I say about science fiction authors and how I feel like they're always really great on their ideas, like ideas and story and conceptually what you're reading, always a 10. I mean, depending on the person, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have a high chance of being really cool. I don't really like the writing on a lot of the science fiction stories that I've read. It's kind of hacky. Like, it's very important to get the point across and how it interacts with the story. And it is a style of writing, and you have to do it well, or it's not going to be able to be successful. But if I'm looking at and since they get lumped together like science fiction and fantasy seems to have the more artful speaking when it comes to...
but you like Faulkner, don't you?
Sure.
Okay, so I don't like Faulkner. Too flowery. Too much bullshit in there. Not enough. Well, I mean, he's great, don't get me wrong, but like,
short stories are better.
I don't like flowery prose. I want stuff that kind of gets me. I want utilitarian stuff that'll get me there, but I want it to still be created by metaphors and physical actions as opposed to, telling me stuff. But science fiction is kind of weak in that regard. Like, it's very heavy plot driven material in a lot of cases, with characters being second, or they're very flat, which is not uncommon. But there's some really good science. Kurt Vonnegut wrote some great science fiction, and his characters are fun and engaging. And
well, then that gets you into the question on whether... All right, so if you're in a bookstore, where do you go to find your Vonnegut?
You go multiple places just in case. Hey, Fantinuum, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I know. It's I always joked around about the fact that Burroughs is never put in gay lit. If they did that, they'd finally have something that was worth reading.
That's what you do when you want to create a section. You have to draw out and separate it. I mean, you got your Oscar Wilde, you got your James Baldwin, you've got your William Burroughs, you've got
those all stick there,
Allen Ginsberg. I mean, just floor us with the quality of literature that's been written by homosexuals, because it's not hard. Right,
exactly. But you being in a subsection with it boils down to being vampire novels often, right?
Well, you can always rely on the way that the library does it. It's like literature,
right?
And then there's subsections within literature.
Sure,
but it's all literature.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like the idea of, that's a good point, actually, because I've been in a lot of bookstores lately, and they'll end up with they'll have a classic section, and there's Vonnegut's in there, and Thomas Pynchon's in there, and I'm like, how do you decide to put Thomas Pynchon in the classics when I guarantee you he is not assigned reading? People are not reading Thomas Pynchon the way that they're reading or were reading Mark Twain or Stephen Crane or those guys. Like, he's not that kind of a writer. You know, he's way too difficult to read. It's as hard to read him as it is to read and understand Shakespeare, in my opinion.
Well, it's more of a, well, except you do maybe less these days, but you do get assigned Shakespeare. Even, you know, you get your typical freshman Romeo and Juliet, and then Julius Caesar your sophomore year or something like that.
That's fine. But like, I don't think that Pynchon's work is broad scope. It's not the same kind of book as Moby Dick. You know, it's not that easy to get into it, except for a very niche group of people. And that's why, in my opinion, it's not a classic. Like, it's extraordinarily good, but it's
like
not
the
a
Crying 49. Is that what it is?
Crying of Lot 49.
That's a pretty famous novel. I mean, I've never read it, but I mean,
It's
most people
real good. It's real good, and it's short, so it's a good introduction to him. But
I tried Gravity's Rainbow, and I was like, I don't know what he's talking about at all.
I know, but that's
I mean, all right, I know something's going on, but everything is so specific to that time, and it's all during like World War II or something like that, and it's all from like that point of view.
Yeah,
I don't know anything. You know, it's like reading Russian novels.
okay. Well, there you go. Tolstoy. Reading Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. Like, that's a classic for a good reason. You know, one, it's really good, but two, it's completely understandable. It's dealing with moral quandaries and guilt and poverty and desperation and starvation, and it's got all that stuff. And it's not challenging to read. It's challenging to your mind, right? It's not difficult. You don't need a dictionary unless you're, you know, a novice reader.
Oh, well, that's true. It's how he goes about telling this. All right, so I only tried with the idiot.
Yeah.
But I was the idiot. I found that out.
I've only read Crime and Punishment.
Whew. That one, it's like, I mean, everything my friend would tell me about like Russian novelists is true with that, especially Dostoevsky. It's like names upon name. It's kind of like the Malazan stuff. You know how you always have like 3 different names. Maybe I would be able to get it now. Huh. I'm not ready for Russians anyway. I still got Pynchon to work on.
Just read what you want to read, man. I don't see any point in going too broadly afield, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I always like. I mean, I kept my stuff mostly American,
which is all right. But
if I'm gonna go like other countries, I usually do that in comic books.
Dude, there is some fantasy from other countries that would destroy you. They're so.
In what way? I'm interested.
Borges? Have you read Borges?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You mean Luis?
Yeah.
But that's not fantasy.
Yes, it is.
What, he has sword and sorcery type stuff?
No, it's more like it's literary fantasy for sure. It's much more challenging, but it is fantasy. It's not real. It's not.
He definitely deals in like science fiction-y kind of stuff also.
Yeah.
At least in a little bit of that I've read.
Argentinian, you know.
Right.
Phenomenally good. Phenomenally good. He edited a book of modern fantasy that came out in like the 80s, the early 80s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's full of good stuff from other countries.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Get that book. Is that on your shelf?
Of course.
It is behind you.
Yeah, I have 2 anthologies. Well, 3, 4. I have 4 anthologies, and that's one of them.
All right.
One of them is that McSweeney's.
The cartoon one? The comic book one?
No, I got rid of that one. It's it's that one that was republished by Vintage. I think it was number 14 or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. They kind of they mix together, you know. I mean, in McSweeney's, it's the one with the box. It's the one with the rubber band.
It's called Thrilling Tales, and it's got the
oh
guy,
yeah, I remember that
you know
one.
what I'm talking about.
You mean the magazine, like the newspaper one? No, that's not the one.
No, Thrilling Tales is pretty thick. It's like yay.
Okay.
Thick. And
I'm sure I have it.
I saw a guy, I don't remember which one it was, but there's the guy that I'm referring to, he was selling a copy of McSweeney's #1. And it's signed by almost everybody, if not everybody that participated in that issue for $750, man. $750.
That's all?
Yeah, and it's David Foster Wallace, it's Sarah Vowell, it's Dave Eggers, it's a lot of people. But
I mean, $750 for that much effort.
Just getting David Foster Wallace's signature these days is challenging. He died so young.
I see. How young was that? I don't know.
I mean, it was about 10 years ago, I'd say. Maybe a little bit more now. I don't remember exactly, but whatever. Some writers, they're real good and then they die real young, and it's stupid. He killed himself.
That's the way to do it.
It isn't. Not unless you're Hunter S. Thompson. If you're actually at the height of your game, if you are producing art, no, suicide is not the answer. There's got to be a solution, you know? Please.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's hard sometimes, especially when you put yourself out there.
You know, I got into a really long, heated argument with my sister over suicide, because I'm not a proponent of suicide, but I think that people that decide to commit suicide have every right to do so and should not be impeded in any way. And she disagrees. So
Really?
Oh yeah, she disagrees strongly.
All right, so I'm gonna screw this story up, so forgive me.
All right, it's good. Good start.
Good start. There was a young woman who wanted to commit suicide. She was in another country. She's from that other country. So they have different laws. They're cool with taking your own life if you need to. But she was under 21 years of age. And so they're like, or maybe it was even 18. They're like, can you just like hold on a little bit longer? So they didn't assist her suicide, but they didn't stand in the way when she didn't eat or drink at all. And she ultimately did die. But she was like, I'm going to do it. That's how committed she was. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But she suffered a trauma, and she just felt she couldn't live with it. And she had lived with it for, I guess, a long time. So it wasn't like something that was just like, the very next day coming to this decision.
I like Kevorkian as well.
Yeah, well.
There was a book that when I first started working for Half Price a long, long time ago, it was in the nostalgia section, and I did not understand where it had come from or what it was. It was a Scandinavian novel, and it was on suicide. But I wish I would have bought it at the time, because it's a novel, and the premise was that this guy was applying for a license to commit suicide, and the bureaucracy surrounding that granting of the license to do so was so annoyingly difficult that people just gave up. I think what a great premise, It's like you make it acceptable and legal and nobody's going to think anything of you, but it's like going to Eastern Europe and trying to talk them out of money, it's never going to happen. They're going to obstruct you in every way for every variety of reasons you can imagine, down to being completely just petty bureaucrats.
They do it so well.
Well, they're famous for it. They are. And Jeremiah can attest, because his wife did that year of medical school in the Czech Republic. And
right.
It's just bureaucracy. Whole thing is bureaucracy. Oh man.
So, anybody interested in what the top 5 what the top 4 selling comics were this last week?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I bet you are. Well, we actually had a tie at number 4, so it is 5 comics.
God darn it.
I know, but I thought it would be fun. You said you wanted it different, so I did it different.
I do like different. I just don't like 5s and 10s.
Well, this is 4. Just 4 is twice.
Why not just do 6?
Why?
Because
6.
you don't actually have to rank them. You can just say these are our top selling comics this week, right? And just let people guess. We don't need to know that Monstrous beat out, Doomsday Clock or whatever.
All right. Well, how about this? I will read the titles out.
Ooh, allow me to guess.
Why don't you guess?
Huh? Yeah, let me guess.
We're gonna have the chat also guess.
Okay, they can vote.
So these were the books that came out that are on the list here.
They did well.
We have War of the Realms number 5.
Okay.
We have DCeased number 2.
Yep.
We have Uncanny X-Men number 19. Batman number 72. And Green Lantern number 8. There were 3 DC books and 2 Marvel books. And there were also, in this list, there were 2 event books.
What's up, Diablo?
So if anybody, just go ahead and guess what the best-selling one was. And maybe try and guess what the worst-selling book was.
All right, I'm going to give chat a chance to say what they think the top-selling book is and the lowest-selling book is, because I already think I know what the top-selling book was.
All right, let me read this one more time. Okay, so I'm mixing them up, so you don't know where I'm looking at.
We have being sneaky.
Yeah, right, I am. So we have Green Lantern number 8. We have Uncanny X-Men number 19. DCeased number 2. Batman number 72. And War of the Realms number 5.
All right, let's go.
All right. Batman 72 best-selling. That's Fantinuum.
Yep. I'm going to go with X-Men was the worst selling.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that DCeased number 2 was the best selling.
Wow. You're wrong.
Of course I'm wrong. Jesus. Oh, Fantinuum voted with me, though, for Uncanny. Uh-oh.
Uncanny. Yeah, you would think, because Uncanny X-Men is... All right, so there's... Hickman is going to do Hawks and Pox. And a lot of what's going on in X-Men just feels like, why do I care?
Yeah.
It's... I mean, I just really want to get to what I'm going to be excited for now. And it makes what I'm reading now a little bit less exciting. Although it seems like Matthew Rosenberg has been hired to kill off every X-Men character by the end of the series. So there was yet another death from what I understand. I didn't read it yet.
Or is it out of spite? Was he paid to do it, or are they trying to stop him?
That would be really reactionary. And although he said he knew exactly what Hickman was doing going forward, because there was like this retreat, if you remember.
Yeah.
When Hickman showed up, we thought it was just to finish up the shields that he needed to finish. But it must have been there to let Marvel know what he was thinking of doing. And it seems like that's what's going on. Okay. He's ruling the roost, and maybe what Rosenberg is actually doing is playing into what Hickman's going to be doing in the future. I don't know, but it's still selling pretty well. It was because we had a tie at 4. It was in the middle.
Boo.
Yeah, I know. And then some of these books have like multiple covers, like DCeased.
That's unfair.
3 different covers.
That's not cool.
They do a zombie version of a superhero. They do the main cover, and then they do a horror poster reproduction with DC characters.
Right. So let's see.
My girlfriend's in the chat, by the way.
Jill?
Yeah.
What's up, Jill?
No, I don't have it here. I don't want to show it to you. Just think of it and think of Nightmare on Elm Street.
I've seen those, both of them. Then
that's it.
Those are they. What's the next movie cover they're gonna rip off?
I'm not sure. Is it really ripping off though?
If you change it by like 5% or whatever the rule is, I don't know what the rule is, but they're relying on my prior knowledge to sell their book. So yes, in a way, I think it's cheaty. It's pretty cheaty.
No, it's more for a Tyler type of person.
Okay, well, my feeling is that it's a little bit cheap and unearned. Like they can take any old ding dong and say, hey, you know, make it look sort of like the cover from Nightmare on Elm Street, but don't go too close because it'll be stealing.
Well, I think they're totally doing exactly the same thing, just with DC characters.
It's stealing.
Now, if you remember that She Should Destroy comic book that we had that looked like Saga? Yeah. I mean, even to the point where you thought it was a Saga issue?
Yeah, as far as I was aware, it could have been the lady that did Saga doing the cover of that book.
Yeah, it wasn't. But it might as well have been. And I feel like that's a little bit more, I mean, there's a lack of creativity there. They're just trying to harp on that little, you know, that feeling that you get when you see Saga, or even, you know, make you think that the person doing the art is the, you know, Fiona Staples.
It worked on me when I was a kid. I remember like buying comics based on the cover and, you know, like a title that's close to, but not exactly, you know, like you've got Elf Quest, and then right next to Elf Quest, you got Elf Lord, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so,
Elf
look, it's right next to it. Maybe it's done by Wendy Penny. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're going to spend money on something you're going to wish you hadn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of star kind of things coming out in the 70s and late 70s and 80s.
Well, what I mean is that because it works and we know that it works, it's kind of mean-spirited thing to do. It's like claiming money. It's stealing money from people who wouldn't otherwise give it to you by creating this artificial sense of connection to this thing that somebody already likes, right? That you didn't earn. You're just piggybacking off of it and kind of being like a parasite, right?
Yeah, I guess. But in the old days, like when Neil Adams did a cover of Superman and Kurt Swan did the inside, it's kind of like, you know, oh, here's this very exciting thing, a Neil Adams cover.
That is different.
It's not on the inside. So there is a bit of a depressing thing, but now you look back and it's like one kind of leads into the other. Like now I look at it, I'm like, oh, wow, look at this awesome Neil Adams cover. And then you're like, you look inside and it's like Kurt Swan. Well, this is really great. I really enjoy reading Kurt Swan Superman. This guy knows how to do his stuff.
That's a little bit different. It is a form of deceit. It's duplicitousness or whatnot, but it's not exactly the same thing. I mean, does it have that flavor? No, the cover is totally official. It's being done by DC. They're paying for it to generate interest in a different writer or creator, and they're utilizing a really good cover artist to attract attention to their book, which is a more genuine effort than it would be to just make a foil cover, you know, ooh, shiny, right?
Right.
But to have a title, you know, like changing your last name, for example, so that you're not Ernest Hemingway, you're Ernest Hemingman, and you end up right next to Ernest Hemingman and Ernest Hemingway. You're just side by side, and like you make your book covers look like just Hemingway book covers. Somebody's going to accidentally buy your book. You know?
Yeah.
You're not counting on your own skill or talent or creativity or whatever to sell your product. You're creating a piece of bullshit.
Well, what do you think about Todd McFarlane? I mean, it was not by accident that he called his character Spawn. Sits right next to Spider-Man, the book he's known for doing. He's still talented and is doing Spawn, but you know, I mean, Cerebus, he put his company was Aardvark, right?
So it'd be the first.
It'd be the first company to order from.
Yeah, but he built that company himself from nothing. The only advantage he claimed was being first in the alphabet.
I'm just saying, you know, these are things that people do. Did I ever tell you about the when I worked at 7-Eleven? I don't know if I told anybody here this. I'm sorry if I did. I'll make it really quick. They would go and like rip other people's bags in the grocery stores so that they wouldn't be able to make a sale. So like Lay's would come in and rip up somebody else's tortilla chips or something like that.
Well, that's funny. That's really funny. Okay, well, you brought up Spawn, and then the exact same time period, we have a guy who has a completely unique name, and his name. So the name of his book, I'm just not gonna put it out there yet. And his name, I don't think it's associated because comics are not alphabetized by the creator's name usually. And then you've got this book. His main character is a complete ripoff of another character, but he puts a fin on his head. Yeah. I mean, I think what
no.
I think what Morrison did. Yeah, there are, but it's a worse example in my opinion. Spawn is a I don't know, a modern, grittier, dirtier version of Spider-Man.
So the homework for everybody, if we're going to talk about homework, is to look up the Prowler. He is a Spider-Man character that John Romita created for Amazing Spider-Man. And what most people need to know is that the person underneath the Prowler's mask is a black man. And I will say to you that if you look at this character, it is strikingly similar to Spawn. Al Simmons is also a black man under the hood. Does he get grief for that? Who? No. He would have from me back in the 90s because I was talking all sorts of smack about him.
Because Saroyan got a lot of grief for writing the Confessions of Nat Turner.
Wait, who did?
Saroyan.
Oh, well, yeah.
A white man writing his, just saying.
Yeah. Was there art involved in that one?
I didn't read it. It's Nat Turner. It's like 100 years ago.
I don't know. I don't. I'm confused. Who are you saying?
William Saroyan.
Oh.
The Confessions of Nat Turner.
I was thinking of a comic book that I didn't know was made or not.
No, we're talking about two white dudes that wrote.
I thought you were trying to say I don't know what country, Suriname or whatever his name is. I was trying to figure out what you were talking about. I don't remember ever seeing that person do that.
You work the literature section, buddy. I'm sorry. I just expect you to know your classic lit.
I don't know everything. I can't remember.
Classic lit?
That was a long time ago. I don't think that ever made it into our section.
Oh, you're so full of shit.
No, seriously. You think I can go to Half Price right now and find it there in the lit section?
I don't know, man. You didn't work there recently, and it is still red, so whatever.
All right, well, bite me.
So what was the actual bestseller? What was the actual?
Oh, it was Green Lantern.
Was the best?
Yeah.
Who was the lowest? I think we had somebody in chat guess for that.
It was Batman was the lowest. That and DCeased, actually.
DCeased was pretty low. It's a number 2. I'm not too surprised.
No, it's not pretty low. This is a top 4, remember?
Yeah, so it's at the very bottom.
Well, yeah, it is. War of the Realms and Green Lantern dominated.
Diablo, congratulations. Nailed it.
Ooh. I worked at a 7-Eleven also.
Rob the gunpoint, huh? Jesus, Diablo. How does that make you feel that somebody was willing to threaten your life and possibly kill you for a couple of bucks and some beer? Makes you feel pretty valuable, huh? Just amazing how little. I mean, it's not too surprising, but I'm not going to get into that. That's a philosophical conversation for not the internet.
Man, I've never been robbed.
Jeremiah has.
I ran after somebody that stole money, but I mean, not like gunpoint or anything like that.
Was that on Solano?
No, that was here at this store when it was Comic Relief.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I ran so hard, my body ached for like a week.
So Rory's money was worth your.
I don't know. You get really pissed.
You do.
It's not even so much as you think it's someone stealing from the store. You feel like it's someone stealing from you, but what are you going to do?
Run after them, I guess, and risk your life in the reclamation of someone else's money, which is probably insured. And yeah.
All right. So I'm going to answer a question from chat. I think Tom King's Batman is selling lower. I think one of the reasons is because it's a bi-weekly book. It comes out twice a month. The stories have suffered as a result, and I don't think they're as meatier in each issue. You know, the story, it gets lengthened out, and the story becomes a little paper thin. Some of the things that he has Batman do is really, I don't know, kind of dumb. And he gives a lot of attention to characters that really are boring, like that Kite Man character. Everybody wanted to like go all in for Kite Man, and everybody wants to talk about how great he is, but I don't want to read Kite Man in Batman. And he even started off with those Gotham superheroes in the first storyline. And I don't know. Tom King does some okay stuff, and I kind of was down with Batman getting married to Catwoman. And, you know, some of that Bane stuff was pretty cool. And I really enjoyed the courtroom drama. But I know a lot of people didn't enjoy that one because, you know, there was no real Batman going on. I just enjoyed how you got to see how other people talked about the Batman in that one. It felt more like a Legends of the Dark Knight type story. Those ran like in the 90s. And it was when other people had different chances to take on stories of Batman. And that's what, like, Tom King is doing that. So when he's doing a really good Batman story, it feels like a Batman that can be told at any time. And then the ones that kind of drag are the ones that feel like they're only specifically for right now. And if you're not reading everything right now, they're lacking. They're lacking. So yeah, I think twice a month is a detriment to the series. I think some of Tom King's choices are detriments to the series. But again, if more meat was being put in every issue, we wouldn't have had so much of that nonsense in between, hopefully. So there you go. That's my Batman rant.
You tell me how you really feel, huh?
Well, I mean, it's not selling as well as when Scott Snyder did it. And Tom King had a lot of hype coming over from Marvel, having done that really awesome Vision. And he was doing a really cool Omega Man. And he got given the Batman series for Rebirth. And, you know, people were hot for it. But there's DC. Oh, my gosh. There's a lot to talk about with DC. So Rob Liefeld yesterday.
I heard he quit Twitter today.
You did quit Twitter today.
Did he get kicked off?
Did I tell you that?
No, the internet told me that.
Who told you that? Where'd you see that?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay, cool. So even you are getting information about Rob Liefeld quitting Twitter.
Yes.
So he made a comment about DC like imploding, basically. And I guess there's a lot of talk, whispers. Shh, don't say this. There's a lot of people being offered the opportunity to get out of their contracts. And, you know, my first speculation goes straight to Bendis. We know that a lot of people were displaced off of books that were doing well, and everybody enjoyed what they were, you know, witnessing. And even Batman at the time, everybody was happy with that. And then Bendis comes on and he shakes everything up and he changes everything that's going on. And the sales are kind of, you know, they're not as exciting as they were. And who knows what DC paid him, but we know they gave him 2 imprints. They gave him his own Jinx World imprint, which reproduces his stuff, and like Powers and Scarlet and Pearl. And then they also gave him the new Wonder line, which has Young Avengers and Naomi, which are doing well. Naomi's doing well. People are really hot for it. The secondary market's going really well for that book. So, you know, there's that. When DC was doing their Walmart exclusive books, he was doing a Batman book for them. It was like, you know, 10 pages a book within like an 80 or 100 page, you know, graphic novel, comic book, whatever. And, you know, I wonder if that wasn't one of the reasons why, you know, things have, you know, been going so bad. I've told you before, they're very, you know, I feel that DC, when they look at Marvel and they see how much Marvel makes, and Marvel doesn't sell near as much as DC does per issue, with the exception of just a few books. Like Batman's doing better. Batman Who Laughs is doing better. It's always a Batman book, and that's one of the things that Rob Liefeld said. He was like, "Oh, DC, all you have to do is just do a Batman book." I mean, it got to the point where when DC did, or when Liam Sharp, the guy who draws Green Lantern, when he wrote and drew his own comic book, which was Wonder Woman, he had to make it a Brave and the Bold to put Batman in it, you know? And it's kind of like, you need to put a Batman book, Batman to make it sell. It's not Superman and some other character. It's Batman and some other character. And that in itself is one of the reasons probably why Batman isn't selling so well. Because you can get him in any form, in anything. You got a Batman Black Label. You got a Batman, I don't even know what all the other ones are. You got Kelly Jones did a miniseries this last year. There was a Bane miniseries that went on for a while, a couple years ago. There's always something Batman related. There's Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. These are good books, but when you have so much of the same stuff, only Fantinuum can buy it. And he's not buying Marvel. He's just doing the DC stuff. So, it's not Tom King is hurting Batman. It's a lot of the decisions that are going out there are hurting, the entire company. And it's not like, something like crazy, like political agendas or anything like that. And then of course, like Bruja says, Swamp Thing, they make a clerical error, whether it's the state or the company. Warner Brothers can't afford 14 or 4. They were expecting X amount of dollars from the state that they were filming in, and then they aren't going to get it, and so they canceled their Swamp Thing. And supposedly that was very good. And even their comic book craziness is extending to their television, even their streaming service. And their streaming service is looking to start, basically being a failure. They offer every comic book that comes out, basically, and all the comic books that came before on their streaming service. So they're like totally acing out comic stores on that. They totally did that for that year with Walmart. And it seems like, I don't know if that was necessarily a success anyway. It just sounded like if it was a Walmart where there were stores, people that owned stores were just going in, buying them, and jacking up the price. So I know that's a lot of stuff I just spewed out there. And I don't know if Rob said any of this stuff. He just said some of it. And it's, if they're letting people out of their contracts, oh man, holy cow. I thought Marvel was maybe going to, Tyler, our buddy Tyler, he suggested to me probably like 5, maybe even 7 years ago now, that Disney doesn't care about Marvel Comics. And you can even see that with them giving IDW, renting out their characters to IDW to make kids comics. So they're already exploring someone else publishing their comic books. Anyway, my buddy, he was like, oh yeah, Marvel's going to fold. Of course, this always is said. But I didn't think DC was going to. But Rob really, upset a lot of people. And so what happened was a lot of people on Twitter were like, oh, Rob, you're burning your bridges. And he's all, dude, I just did covers for DC. You remember those covers?
Yeah.
And you remember those covers. He's all, I just worked for them. And then other people are like, oh, yeah, well, you make a shitty character like Major X. Well, DC's doing all this other great stuff. And he's just like, block. That's the Rob Liefeld. I'm only going to put up with your crap for so long. Block. But I'm going to give it to him. You have to insult him to his face for him to block you.
I get you.
Yeah, he doesn't do a block bot like that, like Patrick Zurcher did. And by the way, I'm not blocked by him anymore. He got people upset with him for defending a comic creator that may or may not have, even though he admitted that he did it, some lewd things to people. And
everybody's got a past, man. This holier than thou shit needs to stop. Everybody, like casting the first stone. I mean, come on.
when you're catapulted to like a head of a company, people are looking, or even a head of a comic book, you're a writer, an artist, people are looking to take you down. It's always that way.
Okay.
We want to see our friends succeed, and then we want to tear the bastard down.
You know, I heard something like that come out of the mouth of somebody that we've discussed tonight. It was a little bit disappointing. Yeah, I always feel like that desire to destroy something when it's becoming is really kind of it's just a dirty attitude, you know? It's a jealous, ugly face. And we don't have enough art in the world anyway that's actually meaningful, you know? So like when people are trying to do something to want to tear them apart, it's kind of...
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just it's probably human nature, I would think. I mean, I've been bit by jealousy. It hurts, you know.
Of course it hurts. It's not supposed to feel good. It's supposed to make you think about why you feel that way and like, why aren't you doing, you know? It's like, okay, so it's easier to assume that somebody got handed everything, you know, than to assume that they worked really hard to get what they got.
Well, you know, it kind of feel, oh my God. So I don't feel like I want to write comic books ever, ever. Every once in a while I'll be like, oh, you know, this would be really cool to see this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to work with an artist. Although I have 3 pages I wrote that I do want to get illustrated someday. And that's the only thing. 3.
All right. Yeah.
3. I think I picked the person I want. We'll see if they'll do it.
Who?
Anyway, the guy that comes on here sometimes, Larry King.
Yeah.
He doesn't usually want to do people stuff. He wants to do his own things.
Yeah.
But I think what I've written many years ago would tickle him.
Okay.
So I think I can ask him and he might do it. Obviously I'd pay him, but I'm down for that. Anyhow, I don't want to work in comic books, but I still see people get jobs. And I'm like, how? Or why? Or this person stinks. And you hear about some things that people do to get their jobs. And it's not that. It's just like, I wasn't involved in the bulletin boards that were going on in the 90s and message boards, you know, later on and all that other stuff. And I guess there was like, you know, there was a community being built that I wasn't a part of. You know what I was trying to do? I was sitting at my word processor and I was writing crappy scripts and trying to get, you know, hired to write that crappy script or that synopsis into a story that they may publish someday, because that's the way it was always done. But then now it's done a different way. And again, I had long since wanted to I don't want to do comic books. So even if I was involved in like, you know, the message boards and stuff like that, I would not have wanted to, you know, create anything at that time. I'd given up comic books as far as a career, a desire. I don't really have like, I'd rather write the Great American Novel if I was going to do something. Anyway, that's my not wanting to work in comic spiel. But still, you see somebody that gets a job and you're like, oh man, it's crushing. It's a little, I go back to that Yule there, not this Yule here, but it still kind of hits me.
But doesn't it make you think that if they can do it, obviously so can I?
Yeah, but I know. Well, the thing is that, you know, no, I would no, not at all. For the same reason why I quit college, for the same reason, you know, I don't have a desk job or a cubicle or anything like that. I would not be able to do it. That's why I have to own a store.
Which seems like a better idea.
Yeah, that doesn't make me crazy at all.
A lot less stress. Definitely.
Oh, I'm gonna get the gout someday. No, shingles.
Well, yeah, maybe.
1
out of 9, man. 1 out of 9. Ask Andy sometime how she feels about shingles.
Oh yeah, how the hell did this person get a job? Well, the one thing I've heard is that if you write a script and it gets made and it gets purchased, you're in, and it's great. I had a friend. She told me about her friend who wrote Star Trek scripts. This was for Next Generation, and it was after the first one got picked up, they hired this person for all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
And it was more money every single time.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that actually right now, because I think that anybody that wants to write for comic books, really, they would rather write for television. You know, there's more money, there's more notoriety, there's more fame, there's more reason to get up in the morning. You know, you might actually have a legacy show like The Walking Dead or something that just keeps going and going and going and makes you a ton of money. Cash cow, I think they call those. But right now, Netflix is expanding down in New Mexico, and there's Netflix. Who's their competition? Disney's starting their own streaming service.
Yeah, Hulu.
Hulu.
Which Disney owns.
Hulu just get purchased.
Basically, Disney owns all of it.
No, they don't own Netflix.
No.
And Netflix has competition. I want to say there's at least 3 streaming services that are coming into existence. I want to say Apple wants to do one too. And every one of them, in order to differentiate themselves so they're not all just recycling the same crap, have to create exclusive original content, right?
Right.
That is how Buffy got made. The WB was desperate for new content. They were willing to take a risk. It wasn't a huge risk because he'd already made that movie, or he'd sold that movie once before, but it was still a pretty big risk, and it paid off for them. And now with all of the, oh my God, just look at all of the Netflix exclusives that are out there already, and recall that they're in cutthroat competition with 2 other. Now is the time to be a writer for television. Forget comic books. Go ahead and just move on over.
Ugh.
What?
Yeah, you're right. Just move on over.
You love television.
So that's the problem. I think increasingly, especially when it's creator-owned work, people that are working in comics are not doing it for the love of comics. It's to, get to do a show on Netflix, like you said.
Can you begrudge them that? The comic books were probably like the journals, like all of the science fiction magazines, the horror magazines, all that stuff that existed back before television was really big, and now the internet. It's just changing. There's still jobs for all of the people that want to do this work, but the medium is no longer comic books. Sad to say.
Well, we're getting reminded of that more and more. But the one thing that comic books people are still holding, onto is the fact that the million and billion dollar movies that are getting made are comic book related. And, that's something they can hang their hats on, So that's the reason why they go and they make comics. It's a script that can be made into something, a TV show. Or
yeah.
But there was a time when, I don't know, man, it's so I love Michael Golden and Jim Steranko. These are old time artists, and they're very well known for doing advertisement. Neil Adams also did advertisement type stuff. But these guys, at least because they're older now, are very well seen as, guys that really love comic books. They would go back and do comic books. They took the advertising industry and they what they learned, and they put it into comics. And, so they made their real money working for advertisers or, for stuff. And then they would go and do comics because they actually like to do comic books. Some of them maybe did more work than others, but now, so I had a problem when it was Straczynski coming and doing a comic book. And I had a problem when it was Joss Whedon coming in and doing a comic book.
Because they're coming from television?
Yeah, because they're coming from they're slumming it in comic books. Why are you coming over here? And of course, the comic book people were like, yes, we finally got Joss Whedon over here. Yeah, we finally got people that care about us. And they'll let Brad Meltzer, the crime novelist who has nothing to do with comics. I mean, he doesn't even do a visual anything. He writes novels, and he comes in and he kills off characters. All right, so when I was writing scripts to write a comic book, this is it. You take a character, and I want you to tell a story that affects the character, but there can't be any change in the character by the end of the story. And, you have to have this wrapped up in like 20 pages. But this guy from outside of comics comes in and he kills a character. And you find out she got raped earlier on. You find out that Batman found out about it and the whole Justice League mind wiped him. Holy cow, you changed everything about these characters all in one freaking issue. Who are you? And of course, DC's bending over to take this from them.
They're desperate, don't you think?
They're desperate. That was then. This is when things were good.
Yeah.
And it's continued. Oh, please. Oh, yeah. Well, Joss Whedon isn't writing comic books anymore, but I got some other numbnut that will write. I vouch for this person or whatever. Maybe it's not that. But it's just like I need the next person that worked on something. And it's like, oh, well, it's a new Image series by someone that worked on something. Oh, this person was an editor at IO9 or whatever, This person made a game, and now I'm giving you a Vertigo series. That's cool if you do, but it's like, oh, Vertigo's no more. I wonder why. Did you hire somebody that's not cool? Did you hire somebody that has no interest in comics really whatsoever?
Do you think like a loving interest in comics would actually save the industry?
Well, I think no. I don't know. If you don't love it, then why should they?
Well, that's a good point.
Why should a person buy something if you don't love it?
Well, it's like you have, your CEO doesn't necessarily have to like the product. He needs to run the company, right?
Nobody thought that Stan Lee didn't like what he was shilling.
I'm not saying that.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why he was their spokesman up until his death. Forever. Anything
for a buck, that guy.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of funny about him. But man, you knew he was like, it oozed out of him. It's like I was saying baseball. Tommy Lasorda. Oh, he hated his gay son, but he loved the Dodgers. He would bleed blue. I mean, it. No matter, and you kind of forgive him his transgressions because Same thing with Stan Lee. He loves Marvel Comics. He loved that, and I think everybody feels that when he was like, pitching that stuff. And it was like hokey, and you grow up and you're like, oh, I've seen this forever. But God, who loves comics now for Marvel? Who comes out there that do you know? I mean, not you, but someone out there knows all the people at Marvel. Who's at DC? Do you see Jim Lee coming out and saying really great things about everything all the time, or Dan Didio? Does it have to be at like some retailer convention or something for that to happen?
Let me ask you a question, because I think in terms of books more than I think of term in comics. But if we treat DC like Tor, for example, just treat them like a publishing company, why is Tor successful? And they're publishing books, right? Which have to be even harder to push than comic books, ultimately. So why is Tor successful, but DC isn't? Like, what are they doing differently, right? Tor doesn't have anybody out there saying, Tor, oh, we love books, that's famous. Nobody that's famous, but there's never been famous people having to push the books. The books push themselves, or the authors do it, right?
Or Tor does it.
But Tor doesn't do it by saying, look at me, I'm famous for creating books. I love books. Hey, buy my books. They don't do it that way. They do it differently, and they're very profitable.
Well, there's been a dip in people reading comic books, and it's been going for quite a while. I think a lot of the sales in the 90s were artificial because of people buying multiple copies.
You think?
If anybody checks out the Yule Carter channel on YouTube,
8 of them.
I got 8 spawns in one of my boxes. I had no idea that I had them in this.
Do you know what artificial scarcity is? Because you shouldn't have told anybody. You shouldn't have told anybody that you had 8. You should have been like, look what I found, $40. Oh, look, I found another one, $40.
So you can check out my Yule Carter channel. That's UEL Carter. And I did an unboxing of sorts. I'll be doing more of it. It was
a good video, but like I told Jill, I think you should have just gotten straight to the box of books.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Not that beginning.
No, because you were interested in the comic books, man. You were interested in the comic books. So what are you doing? This is my house. This is how things have changed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you don't have a before and after,
I have all those Poachy ones.
Yeah, man, come on. You expect people to fish through your old stuff to find out what your house looked like before now? You're not going to do that. You gotta give them a before and then an after, and then talk about the comic books. Sorry, I have a critical mind. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It's all right. Well, I'm working on it. It's been a long time. Anyhow,
it was a good video, though. I'm serious.
I appreciate that. Anyhow, yeah. So those comics are a dime a dozen.
I gave you one before I left.
Yeah, you gave me a big bag, and I still haven't processed that yet.
I think that. Do you remember that Cerebus is in there?
Oh, there's Cerebus.
It's not Cerebus. It's Spawn and Cerebus.
Oh, Spawn number 10.
Yeah.
I think that one I actually hold some stock in. Actually,
yeah, I do too. That's why I kept it.
Cerebus. It's not reprinted.
Yep.
You can't find. I mean. Again, there was still a lot of them printed. Probably, hundreds of thousands of copies were printed.
Yeah.
And they're out there.
They
should be mostly in good condition.
Oh, yeah, everything is. I mean, it was the 90s. Everybody was buying and keeping 10 copies of everything. You think a crossover like that wasn't kept widely?
Right. I mean, it was a boon for Cerebus to be in a high-profile book like that. But Cerebus had been in Turtles before. If you see my my video, you'll see some Cerebus in a Turtles book.
Yeah, I like seeing that.
No, maybe not.
When you do my bag of comic books, I want to see it again too.
All right, I'll do that too.
I don't even remember. I just remember that one's in there, and some Image Zeros because I mailed away for them.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that because
you had to buy 2 issues of Spawn number 4. There were 10 books, I think.
Yeah.
And they all had a coupon in them, and you had to mail in the coupon, so you had to cut it out. So in order to keep the value of your original, you had to buy 2 copies of Spawn number 4. Blah blah blah. All those other books. Cut the thing, mail it in, and get some Image Zero thing that had a Liefeld cover, if I'm not mistaken. Never liked the guy. I mean, his art. I don't care about Rob Liefeld, but I never liked his art.
We're gonna go fast on this.
Do it.
I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna hold these up. See Justice League? That was the end of that 6 dimension story. I liked it a lot. And as it ended, there was an epilogue of sorts, and it takes you into the whole year of the villain. So if there's something to get excited for in DC, it might be that.
The year of the villain?
Yeah, the year of the villain.
People like villains, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's kind of like
a bad guy these days.
I don't know. I like the heroes personally.
It seems odd to me that like my buddy's kid is 6 now, and he thinks Kylo Ren is awesome. I'm like, that dude's the bad guy, man. He's the bad guy. Why do you like him? He's the bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't.
I don't know, but didn't people like Boba Fett?
Yeah,
I like Boba Fett.
Like Han Solo, right? He's kind of a gray character. He wore a gray outfit also.
Well, again, this is a problem with the 90s. You know, we were buying too many comics with guys that were anti-heroes. People love the Punisher. I personally don't, but I've read a lot of Punisher. Again, on that video, you'll see a lot of Punisher. But yeah, anyway, I read this Hulk one-shot right here. It's written by Peter David with art by Dale Keown, and it tells the story about Hulk in the past when he wanted to kill himself. And he calls a suicide prevention hotline and gets an operator who knew his wife. And this was right after she had died. It's a pretty good story. It's a good one-shot, and people that like Peter David will probably want to pick this one up because he's very well known for writing very good Hulk stories, and some of the best Hulk stories, actually. And Marvel, as the year goes on, are going to have a few of these one-shots with creative teams that old people like me will be happy about. How's that?
I'm sorry. I was
yeah.
I was
the thing
I was in chat.
I hate two things. I hate two things in stories. What do I hate?
You hate the word balloons. What am I thinking stuff?
Yeah, the dialogue boxes. Yeah.
And I don't know what the other one is. I would have to say good literature, but I don't know.
So I'm reading the Thumbs book, right?
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. It starts off with a person being shot, and you find out all this information about what they do. And it's about, like, they're kind of like gamers, and they're being recruited to fight this war. And so this whole opening starts with this person who's shot being rushed back to base, and you get some conversation in the head, but it's mostly dialogue. And this is a good scene as he's being taken down on this gurney. You can see things that have happened in the past being presented on computer screen. And I like that.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, that is. But then as you get to the end of the scene where you see this guy with his nose and all that stuff, well, what do I hate more than anything? I hate 2 years earlier.
That's right.
All right. So I think it's called edging is what that is. And I hate it. And I can't stand it, so I put the book down right there.
Oh, wow. That's a good review, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
but I did like what I read up until that point.
But you can't get past the style.
I have a lot of work to do, and if you're going to waste my time, I'm not going to put any more effort into it.
Do you think that the reason that you put that book down is a widely held reason that people don't like it? Or do you think that you were unique and maybe a little bit of a snowflake about that?
Wow, listen to you.
Just asking.
I don't know if people don't like that type of thing. I think there are elements of in this story that most people are going to be okay with, and a lot of people like Kyle don't have a problem with the whole 2 years ago, I call it 2 minutes ago trope. But there was a Rick and Morty where they definitely talked about that, and that was the Purge episode. And yeah, it's a good episode if you want to get my they wrote on that episode what my true feelings are on that kind of stuff.
I like it when you explain. I like it when you explain what you mean instead of relying on just saying that you don't like that thing. It's like, I'd like to know why.
Well, I did explain it, right?
I know. That's why I prompted you with mean words.
Okay, very good. Last but not least, we have War of the Realms #5. There's we finally get a little bit more Thor, and this is a book that bounces around in time. There's the story. They go now, and they go earlier, and they go now, and then they go earlier. And I think Aaron is using it a lot more artfully and a lot more frequently than they do, or at least the beginning of Thumbs. So I appreciated this one more also. But at the very end of the book, I don't know, Jeff kind of, not my brother, Jeff next door, kind of talked me off the ledge of hating this altogether. But there was some stuff in the end that I really didn't like. It mostly has to do with Jane Foster. I'm so tired of Jane Foster. But and I also thought they were kind of like devaluing Thor a little bit. And we've had all that thing where that was going on before, where a lot of people were suggesting that Thor was being devalued. He's called unworthy. I mean, this guy's still not carrying Mjolnir around. Of course, we know that's because of what happened at the end of the Jane Thor storyline. Overall, I still enjoy this, and I'm really looking forward to the last issue. There's some stuff going on with Thor that's going to play out, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. So, yeah, there you go. Thor. War of the Realms.
War of the Thors.
The War of the Thors.
So what do you think is going to happen? Is this Hammer going to come back after having been restored by his son or something? And
so the deal is, in the sun is the World Tree. And there's a scene where Thor is basically crucified to it.
Ouch.
This whole issue is playing on the theme of screams. And it's like, as one thing's going on, this person's screaming. As another thing's going on, this person's screaming. And no one's screaming louder than Thor. And there he is. He's basically crucified in the sun, upside down to the World Tree.
I don't know if that would hurt as much.
I don't know either, but he's not enjoying it.
It doesn't feel too good, right?
If the World Tree is growing, and that's where Mangog was taken by Mjolnir, or however you say it, then there's a potential for its rebirth. And if that's going on with Thor also, maybe at the end of that, he'll be worthy to hold the hammer. So that'll be kind of cool.
And burn him clean.
But for like 5 issues, we've had very little Thor in this War of the Realms, and it's about time. But there's some things in this that make me think we're not going to get that. So I'm on the ledge still.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. Nice. Wow.
Without saying too much, obviously.
Without spoiling it, for sure. Yeah. But boy howdy, yeah. What did Jeff have to say?
Well, he was the one who reminded me about the World Tree and where Thor was. I'm like, oh yeah, and that's blah blah blah. I might sneeze, so I might mute me.
I'm waiting. Let's see it. Come on, I want to see if you spray all over the camera. Aw.
There you go.
I got to see it. But I didn't let anybody else see it.
So here's some comics. So Jeff, yeah, he basically was saying like, oh, it's not all that. It's not all that. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not. But I really want to get some good Thor action.
Yeah, you do like the Thor, huh?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. No reason not to like him.
All right, here's some comics that are coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
That everybody should know about, okay? Umbrella Academy number 7. This is the continuing series. All the other issues are out of print, but this is the beginning of the next storyline. So you got to come in and get this.
Are you telling me that they're going to spoil the TV show now?
No, the TV show is doing the comic books.
Dude, I don't care. That's how I'm taking it in, right?
Well, good for you. I don't understand.
Why isn't it in print?
Oh, that I have no idea.
How can they not have that in print?
Well, they're coming out with a collection of the first 6, but not yet. And then the first one's Dallas and the Apocalypse, whatever. Those are not in print as of like a week before the show started. I was ordering them.
Ding dong. Like, how long does it take to get something back into print?
I don't know if there is a legal reason for it. I don't understand because it's still the same company, Dark Horse, doing it. But maybe they are only allowed to print it X amount of times. I don't know. I have no idea.
I wonder.
They're idiots up there.
Well, I mean, they might not have. They might. The success may have taken them a little.
Months. It's been months. How
I know.
Get the freaking product out there. I need it now. I needed it yesterday. I needed it 3 weeks ago. I needed it 3 months ago.
We've been talking about this show for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even care. I just need it.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it's been done. Reprint the thing now.
Well, they've already lost their chance. Like the popularity of
always
the
been
TV
successful.
shows peaked. It's gonna go down now.
Idiots.
Yep,
All
I
right.
agree.
That's enough of that. Silver Surfer. This is a mini series. It's being written by Donny Cates with art by Trad Moore.
I like that cover.
Yeah, I think that's Trad Moore. Look at this. All right, I'm gonna show this page. Look at that. Is that cool?
It's kind of cool. It's also kind of an odd choice, but okay.
Well, I didn't want to show
look at those abs, dude. Look at those abs. He's got an
Look
eight-pack.
at that. Look at that one right there. It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, but this guy works with all sorts of weird proportions, and oh, look at that page. I don't even know what this is about. I don't care. Donny Cates is writing it. It's a mini series, and even though I'm not like the biggest Silver Surfer fan, I'm definitely going to check that one out. And Dave Stewart's doing the art, and Annie Lennox isn't upset about that, so that's cool.
Wait, did you say something about Annie Lennox?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
We have Batman and the Outsiders #2 by Brian Hill, and it has art by Dexter Soy. And all of the first issue was basically Batman getting Black Lightning to get the team together. I like the art. I enjoyed the story that was going on, but mostly it was just a getting together story.
Those are fun though.
They are. So, I mean, depending on how long this is another DC comic that had a lot of delays. This was supposed to come out months ago, and for whatever reason, it got pushed back. And oh man, DC. All right, maybe this comic will save them. We've got Event Leviathan. That's by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Alex Maleev. This is spinning out of the action storyline called Leviathan. Leviathan, for those of you that don't know, is the organization run by Talia al Ghul. There's a lot of different actors that work within that organization, but she's usually on top, even though there's a lot of infighting. I don't know how. I mean, she definitely is going to play a role in this. I just don't know how much. Although that 80-page $10 book that came out like a week ago had a little bit of information as far as that was concerned. Anyway, Alex Maleev does this kind of like photo style, this photocopy style. I don't know what they call it, but he usually tells a really good story. I'm interested in this. It's going to have all sorts of characters. It's not just going to be Superman. So I guess this is technically Brian Michael Bendis' first time really writing Batman.
But what if he spreads, like a bad disease, and he ends up infecting Batman?
I think that's DCeased, right?
I'm just saying, man. Bendis is...
I mean, this is spinning out of the Superman and the Action Comics, and look at that. It's all Batman. All right,
yeah, cool. It's Batman.
Hey,
Brian Michael Bendis got Batman.
Hey, look, everybody. Gogor #2 comes out. The first issue had a flashback scene that I really enjoyed. We have the characters.
Did it say 2 years ago?
No, it didn't do anything. I don't think it did like that. The characters running, escaping the people that he's stolen this thing from. And it's basically like a scroll giving him information. And it has like a poem on it. And it's all about raising the Gogor, which is like a big old monster. I'm not the biggest fan of Golem stories. So hopefully it won't be too much like that, but it is somewhat. Anyhow, he's running through and escaping these guys chasing him down. Our main character, I can't remember the name of this right now. And then there's conversation that leads us to the flashback. And it's like the conversation's still going on as we're seeing the scene play out. So it's kind of cool that way. And I think it's a little bit more artfully done. Speaking of art, it's heavily influenced by the color. but I did like the figure work quite a bit, and the action scenes as far as running and stuff were really well done. And I like when page layouts are different and not just all the same all the time.
Can you leave it on the screen for a little bit longer?
Oh yeah, sure I can. Anyhow, I like when not everything's always the same. You don't read the comic book the same all the way through. And again, the coloring is really cool. I enjoyed the first issue a lot. I'm not quite sure where this is going to go, but I'm going to check it out and make sure it's something I want to keep reading.
I like the cover too. I like the lettering on the cover. It reminds me of, what does it remind me of?
What does it remind you of? I don't know. Like the
something
Hulker?
That Corbin would do.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm a big fan of Corbin. All right, 2 more books. There is a collection of the Terrifics coming out. This is volume 2. This is Jeff Lemire with a couple other artists, Bogdanovich and who is it? Oh, Dale Eaglesham. There's a few other artists in this. I really enjoyed his run on Terrifics. Terrifics is still good with Gene Yang. It introduces Tom Strong to the DC universe. That's an Alan Moore character. So if you aren't butthurt about that, you should check it out. It's also got his daughter and everything. And then there's a collection of Epic Comics Moonshadow, which was written by J.M. DeMatteis and art by John J. Muth.
That is exciting, actually.
And this was, man, I read this as a kid in the 80s, and I probably shouldn't have been, but there was definitely talk about drug use, and it's hippie, and there's a lot of free love and stuff.
Let me see the cover.
This is Moonshadow right here. This is a hardcover. It's only $30. Dark Horse is putting this out, and it's like basically painted throughout. So this is my copy, just to let you know.
John J. Muth is pretty good.
I like John J. Muth a lot, and this story was really, really fun. It's sci-fi. It's I don't know. Roll a joint, smoke it, read this. You're gonna love it. It starts off with a really cool poem, and I just really dig this book a lot. I'm sure I'm gonna find out that it's problematic, but I don't care. So buy Moonshadow. It's coming out tomorrow, and I really liked it when I was a kid, so I can't wait to read it again. It's I think this is the best collection. I don't know. There might have been collections in the past. I think Vertigo may have done it, DC, but now it's owned by the creators. And then Diablo Hashcraft asked if I would review some local stuff. And I've got a couple local books I want to show off. There's this one called Maze Structure. And I think it is just mazes throughout. My brother bought this book, I do believe, although I might have told the person to come in. But it's pretty cool looking. And if it is really just mazes, at least it will help stave off Alzheimer's. So you should check this out.
Does that work?
You're supposed to challenge your brain in different ways. Reading, writing, speaking out loud, doing Sudoku, that kind of stuff. And then yesterday, Joseph Cuts, I don't say his last name. He brought in his book, Where the Tall Weeds Grow. This is $5. I haven't read it yet, so I can't give a real review. But his art style, I'm going to get you some panels also. But it's in black and white. And I like the size, because if you can't get a regular comic book sized book, I'd rather have smaller than bigger. But this is pretty cool looking. And yeah, that just came in. And then this is a book that I've had to purchase from the creator a number of times. I've only read a few pages out of it because, number one, we sell out of it. And it looks pretty cool. It reminds me of underground comics that you would expect to see from the San Francisco scene.
I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look at that. And it looks like it's The pages that I've read, it looks to be making fun of everybody, maybe giving a little bit of scorn to all parties, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, if I was younger, I might have wanted to ask if we could hang out, this kid and me. So in this issue, down and out in San Francisco, we've got the police state, gentrification, and corporate America. And yeah, that's perfect. And then let's see it. To cry is human. And yeah. So hopefully I can sit down and read that also. But those are some local comics.
So that's done by a local person?
Yeah, he's in Oakland. And this is I think we charged 10 for this. $8 or $10, something like that. But for a local talent, for a local, the money goes straight to them. It's a cheap price to pay.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you're willing to spend $25 for somebody's Kickstarter, this is right now.
Cool. Very cool.
I will pull one for you. All right. So there you go. That's what's coming out tomorrow. That's some stuff that's here in the store right now. And those are some books I read. And we talked about DC stinking.
DC stinky poo poo.
Stinking DC. I didn't even talk about Chelsea Kane.
Well, now you can.
Oh, I wanted to talk about her bad, but we don't have enough time for that.
That's true. The show is over.
Poor Chelsea Kane, though. Let me tell you, if you guys ever want to, I told a customer that, I don't really love social media too much, but I do enjoy finding out about comic book drama sometimes. And that person asked me, well, what drama do you like right now? And I said, I'm really enjoying the Chelsea Kane stuff. And we talked about it a while ago, but in this most recent issue of Man Eaters, let me see if I can get that out for you. In this most recent issue of Man Eaters, there were some photoshopped images from Twitter basically bashing her. Then she put them in the book. And of course, everybody got super upset. And I think she quit Twitter also.
Oh, well.
It was, I told you before, I feel that Man Eaters is like, this, I'm not going to say like propaganda, but it's definitely like a feminist troll job. Like if you don't like that kind of stuff, she's making this for you to hate.
Okay.
She doesn't want you to like it. Or, and she wants everybody else to really like it, And it does its job very well. My main criticism with Man Eaters is it's too one-dimensional, and it's not very well thought out overall, like as far as the story.
Yeah.
And it's here's a person from outside comics coming in and doing comics. Thank you, Brian Michael Bendis. Also, we have him to thank for that. She was a young adult writer, and I think she was a young adult writer. I might be getting that messed up, but she's a writer of books, and she was coming into comic books. She did Mockingbird. She had a story that she wanted to tell, and she used a character that a lot of people feel would not act that way or never has before. Can't you just make a new character? That type of thing. But of course, people don't want to make a new character unless they're going to own it. And that's a problem. If I'm looking to just make a movie or get my writing credentials up, I'm not going to give something so that someone else can make a ton of money. That's why I'm only going to rehash the same villain I saw before. And it's like, I'm not going to make a brand new villain because the Image guys, again, going back to the 90s, taught us everything. Don't make characters for these guys because they're going to make a lot of money off of them. I mean, whatever Rob Liefeld's getting from Marvel is a pittance, or Fox or whoever should be giving him his money for Deadpool or Cable. And those aren't necessarily great characters, but ain't nobody else coming up with something as good.
Deadpool is pretty great.
I love Cable also. And it's probably because of the work of everybody that's worked on Cable, not named Rob Liefeld, the reason why I like it. But holy cow, it doesn't matter, who's making a new Cable? And we can go through the list of the characters that have been made if we're talking about Marvel, or the list of characters that are being made by DC. Only Scott Snyder's making characters for DC. He's getting paid a pretty penny, probably. Because he's the only guy that's really making a lot of money for DC. Jeff Johns might be making a new character because he's Jeff Johns. He's one of the three.
He's
Jim
so
Lee.
good.
Jim Lee. If a character is designed for DC, Jim Lee's making sure he designs it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then over at Marvel, we have editors creating characters. When they wanted to create Ms. Marvel, it was an editor that created that character. And then they got an artist to draw it up. That kind of used to be the way, except Stan Lee was also the writer.
Yes, I guess.
When there was only a few people in the office that were churning out all the stories, it was Stan Lee and some other rube. It went through Stan Lee, and that's why there's a fight about whether or not Jack Kirby was the guy who created Spider-Man and not Steve Ditko. Well, F you. Steve Ditko created him, even if there's some crappy art to suggest otherwise, But yeah, everybody.
On that note,
well, and our new employee Ethan, who comes in on Saturdays, he loves Jack Kirby. He loves Jack Kirby. So of course I'm like, oh yeah, talking about Jack Kirby and that in that Steve Ditko stuff. I'm like, it looks like Stan Lee wasn't the only person to screw people at Marvel, because it's famous that Jack Kirby didn't get near the financial compensation for his. I mean, that guy created almost all of Marvel, and the only other Marvel that was created that wasn't by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby was by Ditko. And I'm sure he didn't get any Spider-Man movie money or anything either. And Jim Starlin, who created Thanos. Prior to Deadpool, that's the only character that really anybody cares about in Marvel either. Everything else was created by Ditko or Jack Kirby. You got Iron Man. You got the Hulk. You got Black Widow. You got Spider-Man. Doctor Strange. All his characters. Ant-Man. If only because Jack Kirby had to scribble him out first. He created that guy, But and then you've got and you got Thanos. Oh, Jonathan Hickman made a bunch of Thanos' villains that fight with him in the movie. So Jonathan Hickman is a guy who's probably getting paid a lot of money. So he actually has created characters for Marvel. But yeah, Rob Liefeld. That's it. Yeah. It's like, wow. Jeez Louise.
Is Rob doing anything he can for money at this stage?
Well, I mean, the guy.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I don't know.
Well, he's done Kickstarters that haven't been fulfilled.
Whoa,
he's
really?
Indiegogo of that same thing that hasn't been fulfilled. He still does Major X for Marvel.
Still? What do you mean?
Well, there's one more issue. So 5 comes out tomorrow.
Oh,
but
wow.
There's 6 issue.
That's been going on for a while.
Yeah. But there you go.
Is that long for a Rob Liefeld series?
Well, it's a mini series, so it's 6 issues with an epilogue, I do believe.
Fucking record.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fascinating. We're gonna end the show.
Yeah, let's end the show. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We actually paid attention to chat for once.
What do you mean for once?
Well, I know I did, and I responded.
I'm sorry. I was kind of. Kind of.
And everybody that can come in on in tomorrow, and we'll say hi. And then I'll definitely hold this this zine-ish book for Diablo Hashcraft. Gaff.
Oh yeah, he wanted that, right?
Yeah.
By the way, oh yeah, no mukbang because no Eugene.
No Eugene, no mukbang.
If you guys do want our attention, use the the @ symbol or whatever, and then that color flash is very visible in the peripheral vision for me.
That's true.
All right, thank you guys, and have a good night.
Good night.